So it may have taken a while, but the America First Nick Fuentes is finally no longer backing the Trump administration. I know, this is crazy, right? But he's finally turned blue. And the straw that broke the camel's back was the war in Iran. And so we're going to listen to him tell the tale himself here. But this was long overdue. I really, at this point, I don't know how anybody who claims to be a human being can possibly support this administration with respect to what it's doing, not only in terms of foreign policy, but also domestically. Everything that we've done here has been horrific, and everything that we're doing overseas right now is not only horrific, but it's also a war crime. And even if it was a war crime, I could get past. It doesn't matter, because we should not be involving our citizens in a war like this, especially given the circumstances. So with that said, let's play out the clip here from Nick Fuentes, and then we'll comment on it a little bit.
This has to be the breaking point. This is the breaking point for the GOP coalition. You buried the Epstein files. There is no border wall. You didn't deliver on mass deportations. You cut corporate tax rates for the rich by cutting Medicaid again. No infrastructure bill, no middle-class tax cuts. You got to refund the tariffs. And now we're in a regime change war with Iran. That's the breaking point. I'm out. I'm done. I am off the Trump train. I am not voting in 26. If Rubio or Vance are on the ticket in any form in 28, I'm voting for a Democrat. Say whatever you want. Do your worst. Hey, carpe donkdom.
As he should, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not going to sit here and defend the Democrats, right? Because, let's be honest with you, most of them are corrupt. But pretty much all the Republicans are definitely corrupt as well. And so we just live in a corrupt system. But if you had to look at who was the least corrupt out of all of them, it at least tends to be the Democrats. And so, this is a start here. Ladies and gentlemen, it took a while, but this is a start. And so let's talk about here. Some of the things that he mentions here are so bloody accurate. And sometimes it makes me think, like, man, are you actually based, dude, or what? Because sometimes I don't know. Some of the comments I've seen this guy make are just completely bloody outlandish. Other times he has a relatively good point. Like I remember seeing him talk about the Epstein files, which is his first point here, saying that they buried them. And he goes through the whole process here. To me, I was very happy when I seen that he was radically against this administration, how they are handling those Epstein files, because not only is it illegal, but it's also downright evil. I mean, this is like Marvel level villain. Nah, fuck that. This isn't even Marvel level villain. This is like worse than that. This is like way worse than that. And so, burying the Epstein files. I remember one time, he was saying, he had like the funniest joke on this. He was like, look, Epstein had to be the coolest guy you ever met in your entire life, bro. Imagine this dude. And he's like, oh, look, dude, you want to come to my private island? He's like, we got the most beautiful women in the entire world. He's like, we got the best food, and you'll take my little private jet on over to the island, my little PJ, my private jet. And, a lot of people are going to be like, well, sure. They're not just going to sit there and be like, actually, can I see their identification, please? Like, that's what they're not going to say that. And so, as a result, they trick these individuals, and they get them, they record them, and most likely Epstein's like a Mossad agent or something, and they blackmail these individuals. So, he knows that it's obviously, stuff is horrible here with respects to these files, and the government ain't doing nothing to, have us earn their trust. Just today, actually, they were deleting even more Epstein files now that this whole war with Iran is sort of being like a diversion, a distraction, because everybody's focused on that. They're hoping that the Epstein files will sort of fall under the radar here. But the problem is they're not falling under the radar, and what they're doing is not working, and nor should it work. We should talk about this every single day until these politicians are out of office. Next up, too, he's talking about no border wall. Now, this is one I'm not really necessarily going to get behind, but I'm not necessarily opposed to the wall. But what I am opposed to is the principle behind the wall. If you remember back in Trump's first term, the comments that he would make with respects to immigrants was downright crazy. I mean, if you think about like the Muslim ban, for example, or you think about all the comments here with respects to like, oh, the Mexicans are coming here and, beep, 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 right? I mean, let's be honest, we all know those comments. And, there's a certain way to go about things, and you do not do that there if you do not make those type of comments if you think in a non-biased way. right? I mean, am I crazy to say that here? And you know what's evident of that? What's evidence here of his bias, and what I would even argue is his racism. Is the fact that they are violating the Fourth Amendment now, unreasonable search and seizure, no probable cause at all. They are pulling over citizens and having them stop and frisk now, and he's totally supporting that in the name of we need to protect our country from immigrants. It's like, well, excuse me, or illegal immigrants, I should say. It's like, excuse me? Like, are you kidding me? It's like the fact that we even let this go on is insane, and the fact that he hasn't condemned it is even more crazy as a sitting U.S. president in the year 2026. How this man got into office, I have absolutely no idea. Half the country voted for this guy. I have no idea. Hopefully they at least know they made a mistake this time around. I mean, he makes his first term look as if this dude was like, Jesus, just walking on earth. I mean, and his first term was very, very bad. I think there was a very reasonable argument here to say that, he was worse than Reagan and worse than any other president we've had, in the last 100 years. It's like, and now, I mean, this is it has to be the worst president in U.S. history. I mean, in fact, I don't even actually think there's an argument to be made to say that he's not the worst president in U.S. history. I think that you'd have to really whip up some weird argument to try to say that he's not. So the border wall thing, there's that. He says deliver on the mass deportations. Obviously, that's a conservative play there, but he is going to be mad. And when you do look at the numbers here, Obama deported infinitely more people than Trump ever did, and that goes across Trump's first term, and then it also goes with respect to Biden even being on the same level as Trump in his first term, and then you have, of course, this term where Trump is he's revved up those numbers a lot, and so those numbers will probably be higher. But Obama, everybody always like, well, Trump deported all these people. It's like, no, he didn't, dude. Like, compared to Obama, Obama just dwarfed him in terms of numbers, and so don't sit here and tell me that Trump is deporting all these different people. It's not really happening. At least it wasn't happening. Now it is happening with all these illegal ICE detainments and arrests, and this whole mass deportation wave that's been going on in the United States ever since Trump took his second term in office. So it is happening now. So I don't really know why he said that. And then we have the cut corporate tax rates for the rich by cutting Medicaid again. Yeah, if I remember correctly, didn't he kick off 17 million people, right, with the big beautiful bill? Like, are you kidding me? You stripped healthcare from 17 million Americans, and the fact that this is allowed to fly in one of the richest countries on the planet, I mean, they should be ashamed of themselves. And there is no coming back from that. That should end any semblance of political career that you maybe even had. The only people who are going to look at you favorably, the people who voted for you, and then maybe 30%, maybe it's even half of those by the time this term is over. I don't know how anybody again can even claim to be a human being after seeing what's going on and still support this guy. In favor of a different candidate. Absolute insanity here. And then as he's right, we'll probably end up getting. Like fucking Vance or Rubio or something on a ticket. Would just be horrible. Soulless, spineless creatures, the last degenerates you want running this country. We also have no infrastructure bill, no middle class tax cuts. I mean, if anything, they're always raising your taxes for us. And then, of course, you have to. And, what's funny about this too? I think I just seen the other day that they're raising the deductions for seniors. I'm like, dude, come on, bro. Can we have anything as a Gen Z? I don't know. We got youth on our side, but in comparison to the boomers and the Gen X, it's like we're doing pretty bad here. We also have the you got to refund the tariffs, and you're gonna have to also be in a regime war, regime change war with Iran. And so you'll never see that money from the tariffs. I mean, it's never going to happen. The tariff money, that's out the window. You'll never see a refund on that. Nor would you want a refund. I don't know why you would, because it's paid through your tax dollars. So you're going to be paying a higher cost for your products anyways. Tariffs is a lose-lose game. All it is the de facto tax on Americans. When you do something like that, it's stupid. It makes absolutely no sense. And if you knew anything about economics, then you would know it makes no sense. But of course, he doesn't know nothing. He goes with his gut, as all these different whistleblowers have said constantly. People who are leaking stuff to the media say that he just does everything on instinct. He doesn't actually care about the data. He doesn't care about the literature. He doesn't care about history. All he cares about is his gut feeling. And his gut feeling is probably aligned pretty closely with money and insider trading. But, he goes with those gut feelings. And then it says, now we're in this regime war change with Iran. Like, what? First of all, why do I care? And I think I seen it was a clip from Tucker Carlson the other day. I can't even remember who he was talking to. They were talking about border disputes in Lebanon. And he's like, why do I care? Why does any American care about a border dispute on Lebanon? Who cares, bro? And the person was like, and he's like, huh? Like, excuse me? And, I feel the same way. It's like, dude, why are we doing regime change in a foreign country around the globe? That makes absolutely no sense. You're going to drag your citizens into a war? What happened to these America First policies? What happened to the no new wars president? What happened to Biden's going to start a war? What happened to, Kamala Harris is going to start a war? Blah, blah, blah. What happened to Obama's going to start a war with Iran because he has no ability to negotiate? Where did that attitude go, and why has it left, and why are people not calling it out? Oh, wait a second. People are actually calling it out, except our politicians, who, again, are all corrupt, because otherwise there would be impeachment proceedings right now, because not only has he done this illegally, and, he is a war criminal, but he's also, which, again, that's just the easy one here. And this is, like, this is obvious, right? It's not like they're just attacking terrorists, and because maybe you could even get behind that, right? So, for example, one of the things I had a very hard time getting my head around, and, I don't support the Iraq war, but, one of the things I had a really hard time getting my head around here, because I think that this is true, and I do somewhat generally feel this way, that if the United States were to go in and just, take out, say, Saddam Hussein, for example, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't feel bad. And yeah, I'd probably support it. But that's not what we do. Instead, we go in and we just carpet bomb the entire country for weeks, for months, for years, for decades on end. And it's like, that's not what you're supposed to do. If you want to take out a genocidal maniac or somebody who's just a horrible human being, to take some Hitler, Stalin-esque type characters and get rid of them, it's like, okay, well, like, I can have more sympathy for you. It's like, but don't come crying to me, when you say, oh, well, like, we just did this. Now there's another one in power. Now there's another one in power. Now there's another one in power. And, oh, wait a minute. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I had to go, blow up a school with 85 children in it because, we got to stop the terrorists, bro. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? You cannot do that. And I have zero sympathy for you. And I wish you the absolute worst. And everybody should wish the president the absolute worst. He's a horrible human being. He should spend the rest of his days locked up in a cell. And, anybody who and if you disagree with that, that's fine. But just say, like, yeah, I support killing children in the Middle East and blowing up schools. Just say it, bro. Be like, yeah, like, I support, the Epstein files cover up, and say, look, I think the government should cover up all these crimes where they're sanctioning murders, and people's names are redacted, and they're trafficking children, and doing all these insane, wicked, violent things, that are just so depraved you almost can't even name it. Just say that you support that, bro, because that's what you have to believe if you're going to be a Trump supporter here in the year of 2026. You have to believe it. There's no arguing there. There's no this, oh, well, I don't. You have to believe that. This is a mandatory venture that you have undertaken now. You say, okay, well, I have to support the covering up the Epstein files. I have to support these pedophile protectors. You're going to say, I have to support these wars in foreign countries which get our soldiers killed, which waste trillions of dollars in tax money. You have to believe that. And so just say it, bro. At least be honest about it. At least I could respect you if you were honest about it. But I have no respect for you under this, under these circumstances. I don't think anybody is honest about it. And they never will be honest about it. And that's, at least a third of the country. If not more, because more people had to vote to get him elected. And so it's a very unfortunate situation that we're in. And it's one that I wish I did not see ourselves in. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. And so hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, again, hit that like and subscribe button, baby. Let's try to get to 500 subscribers. And with that said, look, even Nick Fuentes is turning over. So hope you guys have a wonderful day, and peace. I'm Dr. Ian Phillips.